Long before the Iliad was sung and the walls of Troy fell, there was a hero who flew too close to the arrogance of the gods. We remember Icarus for his fall, but we must remember Bellerophon for his flight. It is a story that whispers to us from the ancient dust of Corintha, a story about the taming of the impossible, the allure of power, and the terrifying reality that the gods do not share their throne with mortals. It reminds us that while we may conquer the heavens, we are, and will always remain, creatures of the earth. Welcome to the Bronze Age, to the rugged, mountainous landscape of ancient Greece. This is a world where the divide between the mortal and the divine is thin and perilous. The gods do not dwell far away in some abstract ether. They walk on mountain peaks, they swim in a wine-dark sea, and they watch with cold, hard eyes from the snows of Olympus. In this cosmos, a hero's fate is a thread spun by the fates, and to snatch at destiny without the blessing of the immortals is to invite ruin. It is a world of monsters, to a beast born of the earth and the underworld, nightmares given flesh. And yet, it is also a world where a man with a brave heart and a stolen favor might, just for a moment, touch the clouds. Our tale begins not in glory, but in blood and shame. Bellerophon, son of King Glaucus of Corinth, was a man of peerless beauty and immense courage, but he was marked by a stain that no amount of heroism could wash away. In a terrible accidenta, or perhaps a fit of unthinking ragia, he killed his own brother. For this, the laws of men demanded purification, but the weight of his deed hung heavy around his neck. Seeking to start anew, he fled to the court of King Pritus in Argos. There, he hoped to wash away his guilt with hospitality. But the ancient world was treacherous, even for the honored guest. Queen Antiaea, the wife of King Pritus, looked upon Bellerophon and was consumed by a burning lust. She demanded he lie with her. But Bellerophon, remembering the stain of his past blood guilt and the sacred laws of hospitality, refused her advances. He spurned the queen, and in her humiliation, Antiaea's love curdled into a venomous hate. She went to her husband and lied, whispering that the young hero had tried to violate her. King Pritus was bound by the ancient laws of Xenia, the sacred duty of hospitality. He could not kill his guest directly without bringing a curse upon his house. So, he chose a more subtle, cruel path to murder. He sent Bellerophon away to his father-in-law, King Iobates in Lycia, bearing a sealed tablet. On that clay, written in symbols that meant death, was the simple command, kill the bearer. Bellerophon, unaware of the death sentence tucked into his satchel, arrived in Lycia and was treated with the grandeur due to a guest. Iobates feasted him for 9 days. But on the 10th, the king unsealed the tablet and read his fate. Like Pritus, Iobates feared the wrath of the Furies if he killed a guest directly. So, he devised a series of impossible labors, thinking to let the monsters do his work for him. First, he sent Bellerophon to face the Chimera. This was no mere beast. It was a monstrosity of the ancient chaotic world, a thing that should not exist. It had the head and body of a lion, the tail of a serpent that ended in a vipera's head, and a goata's head rising grotesquely from its spine. It breathed fire, not the controlled fire of a forge, but a searing, toxic napalm that scorched the earth and turned men to ash. To face it was to walk into the mouth of the underworld. Bellerophon knew he could not defeat such a horror on horseback or on foot. He needed an advantage that defied nature. He needed the sky. And so, following the advice of seers, he sought out the divine spring of Pyrene, where the goddess Athena was said to walk. There, he slept on the cold earth, waiting for a sign. In the silence of the night, the gray-eyed goddess appeared to him in a dream, holding a bridle of gold, radiant and shimmering with divine power. She awoke him, and in his hands he found the golden brillia, tangible proof of the gods. With this sacred gift, he traveled to the meadows where Pegasus, the winged stallion, grazed. Pegasus was a creature of pure, untamed majesty, born from the blood of Medusa when Perseus struck her down. He was a storm-made flesh, hooves that struck sparks from stone, wings that caught the wind like sails. Bellerophon did not mount him with force, but with the golden bridle. The stallion bowed his noble head, accepting the rider, and for the first time, a mortal united with the divine wind. The battle that followed was etched into the bedrock of myth. Bellerophon, soaring on the back of Pegasus, rained arrows down upon the Chimera from a height where its fire could not reach. But the beast was relentless. Seeing that arrows alone would not suffice, Bellerophon drove a spear of lead into the monster's throat. The Chimera's fire, its greatest weapon, melted the lead, which poured down its gullet, boiling and choking the fire from within. The monstrosity fell. Iobates was stunned. His plan had failed. Next, he sent Bellerophon to fight the Solomoi, a fierce warrior tribe, thinking the mortal would be cut down in the chaos of melee. But Pegasus struck like a thunderbolt from above, and the Solomoi were scattered. Then, the king sent him against the Amazons, the deadly women warriors. Again, the hero and the winged horse prevailed. Finally, Iobates set an ambush of his best men. They too were cut down. At last, King Iobates realized that this was no ordinary man. He saw that Bellerophon carried the favor of the gods. He ceased his treachery and brought the hero to his palace, revealing the fatal message on the tablet. He offered Bellerophon his daughter in marriage and half his kingdom. Bellerophon had survived the sentence of death through sheer virtue and divine aid. He had ascended. But this story is not a tragedy of defeat. It is a tragedy of success. For in the Greek mind, the most dangerous emotion a mortal can possess is hubris, the arrogance that believes one is equal to the gods. Bellerophon, having conquered monsters and evaded traps, began to believe he was untouchable. He looked down from the back of Pegasus at the crawling, earthbound mortals and felt a spark of envy for the gods. He decided he would fly to the peak of Mount Olympus itself. He would storm the gates of heaven and demand a place among the immortals. He ascended. He broke the cloud layer, leaving the mortal world behind as a speck of dirt. The wind roared, but Pegasus, sensing a violation of the natural order, began to hesitate. The air grew thin, and the divine presence of Zeus filled the atmosphere. Bellerophon urged the stallion higher, determined to gaze upon the throne of the Father. But Zeus does not welcome intruders. He does not grant audience to the arrogant. With a motion of his hand, or perhaps just a thought, the king of the gods sent a single gadfly, a small, stinging insecta, to torment the winged horse. Stung by the divine pest, Pegasus reared in panic. The creature of the air bucked, and the creature of the earth lost his grip. Bellerophon fell. He plummeted through the clouds, a tumble that lasted an eternity. He did not die not immediately. He crashed into the rough thorns and rocks of the plain of Aelion. He was broken, shattered, blinded. The hero who had tamed the divine horse was now a cripple, wandering alone, despised.